as I was saying, lots of different filters here that you can use. Oh, this location option does allow me to narrow down a country. So I can put in, I'm just interested in properties in the UK and look at those. So basically, you get the idea. Lots of different filters for you to choose from, and you can keep going through. More even gives you demographic capabilities and or criteria that you can specify as well. Pretty cool. Okay. Now, when it comes to filtering, I do mention if you do, as I said before, if you specify a property type, and here I'm showing you if you specify hospitality, then the filters will relate to the property type. Notice when I specify hospitality, I get a filter here for number of rooms, not square footage. It's, when you're thinking about a hotel, I want a hotel that has more than 200 rooms. Or classification. Now, classification, I mentioned it over there. You can specify either class or scale, and then you can select specific groups of hotels. You're looking for a Ritz-Carlton type property. That's classification is luxury class. So I could say, I just want luxury class hotels in this area. And then down below, parent company, you'd have the hotel parent companies like the Marriott and Hilton and Intercontinental, and then the brand, and then you could specify, I just want a Moxie or a Delta or a True, and you can specify which ones and other hotel related things. So by changing the property type, the filters will sometimes change as well. Good. Okay, and then let's talk about the rest of the options up here. In addition to the filter option, you also have options to do things like print reports, and that is, if you click on that from here, look at the reports. You go to this separate screen that allows you to print a huge number of reports, and the reports will be based upon the hotels that you have selected. So, think about it. I'm looking for just big office buildings in the Richmond area. So I use the filters to narrow that down. And then I come to the reports option and I want to, maybe I narrow it down to 5 different or 10 different office buildings. And then I'm going to print reports about those 10 different office buildings. Perhaps I'm making a pitch and show in my, my investor customer, some of the options. And so the reports will give me that data. Properties to include in the reports, the entire search, all 10. And then the reports are in different groups. You can look at just the favorites or all of them, and you can create your own bundles as well. Reports are listed in this first section, and you can scroll down. If you hover on top of one of these reports, you're going to see a sample of what that thing looks like. So I hover on top of lease availability report, the first page of that will come up. And of course, you can print them and take a look at each one as you're going through them. Some of them are somewhat self-explanatory, and I think you get a little description as well. Here's the full list of the report. So you're looking at easily 100 different reports that you can get here. Some that specialize on analytics, some that specialize on the changes in a property, renovations and things like that, and some specialize in a type, retail reports and so on. Once you pick a group of reports, then you hit next and you come to this page. In this hypothetical scenario, I've picked 3 reports. And I have them here, and I can fine tune, I can customize every one of these. When I hover on one, the customization fields will appear in this section, and I can say, do I want to include photos, yes or no? And all these various, do I want to include my address or, and then, global options, sorting options, things like that. I can save the bundle, and then, so I can customize all the reports that I've requested and then actually generate the report to create a file. And I can then share that. I can email that to my customer, or I can print that out, and either way. So anyway, lots of other options. Let's keep going. Look at some of the other options. Sorts the fields, sorts the properties in a certain order. That's going to be more relevant when you see the list in just a minute. Save would save the search criteria. So you've used those filters and you've narrowed down your group of properties to, just a small group. You could save that and use that in the future. And then more opens up some other options. You can add additional property to the search results. You may say, wow, they're mainly interested in Boston, but I know they've also looked at that property in New York as well. So let me add that one in. And then you can export it to Excel. And so lots of different options. And then on the very right hand side, do you see those options: map, list, and analytics? And that's very important. We start in the map view, as you can guess. This is the map view, but there's two more views that we need to understand: the list view and the analytics view, and we're heading there next. But before we do, look at the map icons on the right hand side. These are additional ways. On the left hand side, sorry. These are additional ways that you can search for properties. A couple things you could do. First, the plus and the minus, just zoom in and zoom out in your map. Location opens up a whole bunch of other location options. So it's like another drop down, but you can search by county or zip code or MSA or all kinds of other options. Polygon allows me to actually draw, a border on the map, because maybe I'm looking down here, I'm looking for properties somewhere on the river, and I can draw a polygon on here and find all the properties within that. Radius, I could, I'm looking for properties near the convention center, so I could put, click on the map for a center and then specify the radius. I want everything in a 5-mile distance. Travel, similar to that, but it's a travel time measurement, not just a pure radius as the crow flies. And then corridor. Okay, so think about it. Richmond is on the 95 corridor. So I could actually say, hey, I want some property that is on a highway somewhere. And you could do that. And then even the layers allow you to add layers to your map, and look on the right, look at the training. You can add layers. You could put in attractions. You could put transportation in there. So I could, in DC, I could have the subway come up because I'm looking for a property near a subway station. And you could put in all kinds of different layers. I'll show you more examples of layers as we keep going. And then at the very bottom of these icons is the map icon that'll change. Right now we're looking at a street view. We could go to an aerial or 3D view. Good. So a lot of map icons. So we covered the options up here. We covered the drop downs. We covered the icons. We talked about the placards. We talked about the map view and the symbols. Here are the sub options. We're just dealing with properties right now. And let's go to the next page. Views. Okay. The section 1.4 covers the different views. We've sort of seen the map view up to this point. That's what you start in. That's the default, but we're going to look at list and analytics. First, click on list and you will go to the list view. Now, no surprise, instead of looking at symbols for the properties, theoretically, think that I've narrowed down my search to 10 different properties. When I click list, I'll look at the list of those 10 properties. Now, your selected properties are displayed in tabular format, single property on each line. At the top, a couple things to specify. First, well, all the drop downs are still here. All the options, the buttons are still here. The views are still here. So everything is like that. You do have some page options at the bottom that show up. Look at the page options at the bottoms. Number, you can go from page to page, next and previous. How many, properties do you want to show on a per page? and then a modify table option on the very lower right-hand side. That's important. We'll do that. Headings will appear below the dropdowns. Look at the headings. We're looking at properties and we're looking at data here, but you can look at you could look at this from a property perspective or from the spaces or the lease comps, the sale comps. You could just look at the owners within this group or the demographics or the changes. So, that basically is controlling the items that you're currently looking at. Properties, of course, is a default, but if you were really interested in spaces and leasing a space, then you're going to look at this from a space point of view, and you would have more spaces than you would potentially properties. If one property has 5 different spaces for lease, you're going to see that property show up 5 times because there are 5 different spaces for lease. Make sense? Okay, let's go to the next page. If you click that modify table layout, another screen will come up. The selected fields are the ones that you were looking at to start with. You can customize that, put in additional fields. The selected fields, you may want to change, see fields in a different order. Instead of address, building name, and type, you may want, the square foot of, maybe the RBA. You want that first. You want to, focus in on specific metrics, and you can change the table layout. So different fields and a different order for the fields that do appear. And notice you can make a default layout and then or apply it just for this time or make it the default for the future. When you're looking at this property list, a couple things to point out. There is this column at the very beginning that has little checks on it. If I'm looking at a group and I'm trying to narrow it down, one way I can narrow it down is by just coming to this check button and just saying, I like this one, check, I like this one, click, I like this one, and click, I like this one. I just picked 4. Get the idea? When you check it, the check will disappear, a minus will be in there. So if you click it again, you've gotten it out of the list. Now, once you start checking and unchecking, there's going to be additional options up here that'll say remove selected, remove unselected, or even add to favorites. And you can bring in favorite properties and create a set of favorite properties if you want to. The fields here are hot. If you click on one of these fields, it will sort the properties in order by the field. Click on it again, it'll go from increasing to decreasing. So if I click on RBA, boom, I'll be looking at high to low from an RBA point of view. If I click again, low to high. The columns in here are all described, and so you're looking at a lot of data for these specific columns. Good. And again, as I do this, if I specify a property type, especially one like hospitality that is fairly unique, I'm going to have fields of information that are related to hospitality. So I'm not going to be looking at square foot. I'm going to be looking at number of rooms. And I'll have the brand information, the scale information in there, and stuff that's more relevant to the hotel industry. Good. Okay, so that's the list view. You get the idea. You're seeing lots and lots of information. Scroll down and look at all those fields, sort by different fields. You can still go back. If you go back, you can change the filter and narrow it down and keep on going with that. But once you're done, you can then look at the right-hand side. You can then click Analytics, and you will come to this view, which is showing you metrics related to the properties that you've selected. So select Analytics to switch views and display various metrics. Now, if you haven't specified a property type up to this point, you will default to Office when you come in here. Change it to something different if you haven't. But you're going to look at various analytics. You're going to, all the drop downs and the options and the totals will still be up here. There will be 2 additional options at the top right-hand side. I've highlighted them. There'll be a print option and a chart option. Now, a chart will allow you to jump down below. I'll show you all the charts. As we scroll down, you'll see them all. But you may come here and say, look, I am just interested in this one chart, cap rate. So open the charts, select cap rate, boom, you'll jump right down to the cap rate chart, and because that's all that you've been asked for. Okay, now headers are at the top here. Analytics are organized into different categories. To start with, we're looking at a summary of your analytics. There are KPIs, there are rent, vacancy, leasing, construction, sales, players, and data, where you can actually get the raw data. So the analytics is organized into these different categories, but as you scroll down, you're going to see all of the various analytics. So you could use these headings to jump there a little quicker. Okay, first, look at the summary at the very top. I have a circle around it. Inventory square footage, under construction square footage, absorption, vacancy, market rent, market sale price, market cap rate. Some of the most important metrics right at the top. Those as we say, key metrics. Good. Okay, keep scrolling down. Next, the next section there is a summary section. So this goes into a little more detail, summarizes the metrics, availability metrics, inventory metrics, sales metrics, and demand metrics. So you get a little bit more information, and in the summary section, all pretty obvious. Next up, the key performance indicators. Now here you're looking at the box and whisker charts. If you haven't, played with these before, look it up online and you'll see what all these different things, what all the different metrics that you're looking at in a single box and metric chart. There is a little legend there. What was the metric a year ago? What's the current metric, and is it up or down? See, look at vacancy. Vacancy is actually up 7.69. Get the idea? Then you're looking at the extreme range, and that was it. That's extreme range within a 10-year time period. Look on the right-hand side. The adjustable options here, you can specify the time range. So, extreme options within the last 10 years, or do I want just extreme options within the last 1 year? But the extremes are 10 to 6. Then you do have a 10-year average shown. That was 8.15. And you get the idea. You're looking at a fair amount of different things on there. COVID has caused the box and whisker charts to sometimes look a little weird, because some of the things are, last year can be, a weird number and stuff like that. So you get the idea. Okay, you basically get the idea. All the metrics are right here. So I'm looking at vacancy, 12-month net absorption, 12-month net delivered. That can be valuable stuff if you're thinking about development opportunities, rent growth, rent per square foot, sale price. So great KPIs. Okay, so you have all these KPIs in box and whisker charts, and notice when I look back at the headings, I'm now looking at the KPI information. All the rest of these are charts. So as I scroll down, now I'm starting to look at the various charts. So, the product gives you all these cool charts. You can print any one of these. You can suck it up, put it into a PowerPoint that you're working on. So, right now you're in class and you're doing a project, and you can bring these slides into the PowerPoint, and that's pretty cool. So the charts are all organized into these various categories. So you have all this kind of information, and let's look at a little bit about each individual chart. You'll notice that little icon in top right-hand corner. That is the modify graph icon. So any of these graphs, you can go in and tweak. And when you do that, you come to the graph is displayed on a separate screen like this, and you can make all these changes. You say, well, hey, I like this graph, but I want it inflation adjusted. And I don't want a 10-year history. I just want a 5-year history. They're interested more in recent performance. And forecast, 5-year, that's way too far out in the future. Let's just do a 3-year forecast. And then you can change some of these. Look at the little gear. This gear opens up all these options. Do I want a scatter graph, smoothing? You can change it to a different smoothing method. I want seasonally adjusted, and compared to, you can even bring in another metric. Say, hey, I like the market rent, but I want to compare it to market sale price, so I can have both of these lines on at the same time. Change the exchange rate, change the timing. You get the idea. A lot of cool stuff you can do with this, and then when you're done, you can click back and go back. You can do a PDF of this, and you can access the raw data behind it. So, couldn't be cooler. Sorry, didn't mean to be getting excited about nerdy type stuff, but you get the idea. Lots and lots of charts are available. These are all the different charts that you have access to. So you start with rent charts and vacancy charts, leasing activity, construction. You're thinking about, you have an investor that's thinking about building. Well, let's talk about, construction starts and what's under construction. If a whole lot of stuff is under construction, people have beaten you to the idea. What about deliveries? That's openings. How consistent have the deliveries been? And demolitions are the opposite. Those are closings. Sales data is in here, and player data is in here. Think about it. You got something you have a customer that's selling something. What do you want to know? Who are the top buyers in the DC area? Who's buying the stuff that I have to sell? And you could look up top buyers. You could look up top buyer brokers, and you find out, hey, these are the people I need to be chatting with about my product, or my property. Make sense? Good. If you, when you come to analytics, if you have a special property type like hospitality, look at what happens to the metrics. You're not looking at square footage, are you? You're looking at rooms. How many rooms are in the inventory? How many are under construction? And notice, you're not looking at availability and vacancy. What are you looking at? Occupancy. ADR is what? Average daily rate. RevPAR for free lunch today. What does RevPAR mean? Anybody awake? Revenue per available room. I was going to make Elaine buy you a free lunch. Too late. Market sale price per room and the market cap rate. Look at the summary below. You have inventory and sales, but then look at the other information. It's performance information. And again, this is all of it related to occupancy, average daily rate, and RevPAR. The KPIs are hotel KPIs, and the graphs are hotel related graphs as well. Good. Okay, so we've gone from map view to list view to analytics view, looking at this very information. One last thing we're going to do at the beginning here is we're going to look at the property detail page. Now, here's where I pull up the information for just a single property. Look at this rating for a second. I can select a specific property lots of different ways, multiple ways. From the map view, I could click on one of those placards. Remember how you have the placards on the right-hand side? If I click on a placard, I'm going to pull up that single property. Okay, now you can also get it from a diamond. Okay, remember those symbols. If you click on a diamond, oh, that's exactly where my customer wants to be. Click on that diamond and you're going to come to the property view. You'll see exactly that property. Or if you're in the list view, remember the list view had them all in tables. Click on a single property in the list, in the table, in the row, and you'll pull up the property data. Good, just like we're seeing here. Okay, now when you have a property displayed, and I call this the property detail page, you have options at the top. Back is going to go back to your list or go back to your map, wherever you started from when you selected this. You're going to have check there. Again, it's that same concept. Hey, I'm making a subgroup of ones I really like. I'm going to check it. Or heart, it's my favorite property. You get the idea. Multiple ways to do these things. You don't have to do it you don't have to do what everybody else does. Save the listing or the search criteria. I mean, reports like we saw before, more options, a couple other ones in here, and then you will have, this is number one of 2,000 properties, and the arrows will go next in previous property. Good. As we look below, you see basic property info coming up next. So you see the name of the property, the address, the website's there actually, and then some key metrics for that property: RBA, acreage, when was it built, available square footage, maximum contiguous square foot. And again, these things are defined in the training or in the glossary. Go there. The property data is organized into lots of different categories, and you're seeing like 20 categories of property data here. The first category is summary, then lease analysis, peers, sale, tenant, analytic, loan, financials, changes, demographics, public record. Public record is land data, contacts, images, map, my data, and news. So all the data for a property is organized into those like 20 different buckets. And then when you click on each one of these headings, like summary, lease analysis, the data is displayed below in different sections. So for summary data, I have sales section, the building section, land, tenants, about the owner. For lease, space, get the idea, market conditions. So as we said, a huge amount of data about just a single property of information. So, oh, and then pictures of the property at right. Pictures, notice pictures and videos of the property. And you can see there, I mean, CoStar has airplanes up that are circling major properties, taking pictures of these properties from the air. So cool stuff. All the fields are listed here. So this is a comprehensive set of property information. Here's the summary fields by section, lease fields. Lease analysis allows you to create a model. I'll talk about that in a minute. Peers show you, peers of this property. If you're, I'm looking at this property, 901 East Cary, okay, because it's a big office building in Richmond. Well, peers are going to show me what are the other big office buildings in Richmond, and you get the idea. Sale related data, tenant related data. Now, this allows me to go in and look, okay, who are all the tenants in, 901 Cary? Who are the tenants? And it's going to show me, how many, who they are, because think of it, you're not going to, if you're trying to get, trying to do a lease for a customer, they may not want to be in a building where their competitor already has office space. They want to be somewhere unique, or they may want, there may be good reason to be in an office space with certain other tenants. Other data in there, a stacking plan. So 24 office, you're going to see, all those tenants, what floors are they on, and what floors might be available. More analytic data, and this is somewhat similar to what you were looking at before. Again, it applies to the specific group of properties that you have selected. Loan data, if it's available, change data, demographic data. Public record data is all land related. So you're going to see, the census tract and, all zoning code. You're going to have assessment data in here, and then contact data, images, map, and so on. So a lot of property data. And I do point out for special properties like hospitality, a lot of that data will be unique. You look at the summary at the top there, you're going to see the class of hotel, the number of rooms. And then when you go to the summary section, you're going to see some, data like what brand and what parent company. The market conditions for a hotel are going to be things like occupancy and average daily rate. But it is going to be organized by both the market and the submarket. Richmond is the submarket. This is in the Richmond Central Business District. We're looking at the Omni Hotel right downtown Richmond. And it's in the Central Business District. That's the submarket, but it is in the market of Richmond/Petersburg. And you're seeing market conditions for those markets and submarkets. And then also sale and analytics. If you go to those headings, the sale related data will be other hotels that have sold in the area, and analytics, of course, will be related to hospitality as well. So good. Okay, that's the first 5 sections of this training, and perfect time. These are the most important sections to emphasize in the training. Let me take a pause here for just a second and see if we have any questions or at this point in time, because you basically, if this is a good stopping point. We're halfway through, and you've seen a lot of how this thing works. Any questions that you might have, feel free to come off mute if you have a question. I'll jump the chat if you prefer to put it in there. Am I doing okay? You get a basic idea of how to navigate through this, pretty self-explanatory. Just trying to give you a few little hints in there to get you a quick start. Great, let's keep going, and I'll show you the rest of the stuff. For lease, now think about it. On the menu bar, I've shown you properties. There are people who do nothing more than just use the property search. I mean, your whole life could just be the property search, and you can get to all these things through the property search, but there are other options on the menu besides the property search. For example, if you do leasing, it's going to focus in on properties from a leasing perspective. The sub-menu options here for leasing is for lease, properties that are for lease, lease comps, those are comparables. I'll talk about that in a minute, then lease analysis. The drop downs, again, I'm going to put in Richmond just to go to a standard place, and then for lease is going to be filled in for you because you specified for lease. That is the default here. The symbols will be all properties that are for lease. So these are just dark blue options. You're not going to have gray options because you specified the ones that specify the fact you wanted leasing. Now, drop down similar before. Space use, that's going to be similar to property type. Available space, how much, the stars. These options filter. You can again filter the properties for lease that you're interested in using these criteria: sort, save, report more, map, list, analytics, all the stuff we had before. And the placards, of course, will be all the properties that have space for lease in here, including 901 Cary that you were looking at before, but this one comes up first. The results you see, the placards you see, no difference. When you go to list, the properties that have the spaces will show up this way, pretty much just what you saw before. The various columns, the various tabs and sections, and you can scroll through these very similar to what you did before. So not really much of a change there. Remember, you could sort, you could check, and all very similar to what you had before. Spaces, of course, will be space related data, and that's valuable from a leasing point of view. And then the leasing detail page, you're going to pull up just a single property with multiple spaces, and that's what we're looking at here. It's sort of like what you saw before. Another leasing option is lease comps. So if you come to this page right here and you click on lease comps, you're going to go to this map view here. Now, these are leasing comparables. So here I'm searching for all the comparables, and think about it. I'm looking for, I have a space that I want to create a lease. I'm going to make a proposal here, but what am I doing? I'm looking at comparables to this to try to figure out what's a good, proposal as far as rent is concerned, and what am I going to offer, and what about the various, the lease related variables here. So I'm going to click on lease comps. Now, when you do that, the results will be displayed in the map. If you'll notice, this is a slightly older version of the CoStar user interface. It's similar to what we saw before, but it is slightly older, and it's being redone as we speak. So it won't be, in the matter of a month or two, this will be updated. Notice the filters look a little different on the right-hand side. Oops. The filters look a little different on the right-hand side. The map icons look a little different on the left-hand side, but they're all pretty similar to what you were looking at before. You do have that additional criteria option. You see that additional criteria at the top. And when you click on that additional criteria, it opens up more filters. And you notice you can actually choose from the various filters as well. And you can even, so that's the capability there. So pretty similar to what you had here. Again, we're looking at leases that are comparable to the one we want, and then we can look at we can bring up specific lease comparables like you're looking at here. This is the list view. Again, it's a slightly older interface. You're looking at lease comps. Now we can go to analytics of this group, so we can select specific leases we think that are most similar to ours, and then click analytics to get data on that. There is a menu. There is a pull-out menu on the left-hand side. You see some of the options for this. Geez. And then the fields and columns are listed, sort of similar to what we were looking at before. The lease detail page, it shows this again, slightly older, but you have the property basic info at the top, and then the data is organized into headings, and then you have leasing related data here, and then you have pictures of the spaces there. Good. Lease analysis. Now that's a specific report or a model, or they'll call that a model or an analysis that you can create, and it's built in here. You can actually, if I specified several other properties that I think are most similar, spaces that are most similar to the one that I'm leasing, I can then do a lease analysis and create sort of a report that justifies the various, the rent and the various variable, the leasing variables that I'm proposing. So that's what's meant by a lease analysis. A couple other things to show you here real quick. Sales. Okay, so that is the third option here: property leasing and sales. And here are the sub options. If you specify sales, you're going to sales comp. That's the default. Then there's also for sale and auctions, but we start here with sale comps. Okay, so I'm selling my property, and I'm looking at comparables, similar sales to mine, so I know, hey, what do I ask, and what's a good price for this? So sales comps is the default. To start with, I do specify a market. The results, again, these are blue. Blue means they're for sale now, where gray means they've been sold in the past. The titles, the totals are up here. Drop downs, sort of like we had before. Placards are like we had before. So these are all the sales. Now, look at the drop downs for a second. the location, the property type dropped out. But look at this one. This is the sale date drop down. So you can say, I'm just interested in comparables that have sold within the last two. Sorry. Can everybody hear me? Good. So here I'm looking at just properties that have sold within the last 2 years. Property size and then sale price information is in here as well. So good. If I go to the list page, when it comes to sales comps, here is the headings of information, the sections: sales comps, buyers, sellers, brokers, listing brokers, lenders, and then look at the comp related data there: address, city, state, property type, sale price, price per square foot, sale date, sale status, what was the asking price? That's interesting, and so on. Again, modify table, you can go and look at all the various fields and customize the fields that are here. And then you can, and as you're in here playing, depending upon the project you're working on, obviously you're going to go in here and you're going to look at the buyers and the sellers. Among this group of comparables, who were the big buyers and who were the sellers? And you're going to see, hey, if there's somebody in here that bought a couple properties within the last couple years, and I'm looking, and my my seller is looking to sell something, hey, reach out to these guys. Hey, if something looks real similar to what the kind of thing you've been buying, are you still are you interested? And here's the sales comp detail page. Similar basic info at the top, and then all the other detailed data is organized into the various sections that you see below. Good. Sale comp analytics, you go to here and you're going to look at the various averages when it comes to these sales comps, and you can see all kinds of interesting things here. Listings, time on market is in here somewhere, and sale price related data. What was the average cap rate? Lowest and highest. KPIs are down below, and cool analytic related data. Now, another option related to sales is where you go into just the stuff that is for sale. And of course, here you have a different situation where you're actually trying to, you have somebody interested in buying a property in this area and not selling one, where you're looking at comparables, but buying one. And here, we go through about a similar process here. You click on the sub option for sale. Now you're looking at just ones that are for sale, blue diamonds only. You don't have any gray at this point. Drop down similar, and then the placards, of course, are pictures of the ones that you could be interested in. And then you switch over to the listing. And here you're looking at just one heading of properties. These are just the properties for sale, but then lots and lots of fields of information for these properties that are for sale. And then you pick one of these and you go to the sales detail page. Again, property detail, like we've looked at before, organized into different sections. Here we just have a different thought process going on here. That's all. Auctions is another sales related situation. So if you click on sales, you have 3 sub options: comps, for sale, and auctions. And this is interesting. This shows you all the properties that are currently being auctioned. And again, you can specify a criteria here. You look at the various drop downs here. You have property type, sale price, property size. You have investment type, and look at the investment options on the right hand side. These are all defined in the foundations, but somebody could be thinking about in core, a value add, opportunistic. So what investment type are we thinking about here? So you have a list. You start off, actually, this is a different view. This is the gallery view where you're looking at pictures of each of these. You can switch to a map view if you want to. That's what we're looking at here. Here are all the properties being auctioned everywhere in the country, or you can switch to the list view where you're going to look at detail for each one of these. And of course, you can click on any one of these and you'll pull up the auction detail page. And here you're looking at all the various information about this property. Here's the sale information, the sale notes, the building, and then as you scroll down here, you will have auction detail as well. I guess you have it up here. Yeah, here's the auction in progress. So you see auction detail. What was the last bid? What was the increment? When does it close? Ends today at 3 p.m. So, guys, if you're interested, you have a great deal on a property here. Not too late. Good. A couple more things to show you. Tenants. That's sort of what I alluded to before, and that's where you can go in and search for tenants. Notice it is the older user interface here. So you're looking at that older interface. You have the ability to filter and specify tenants. Notice you can pick a company name. And so if I want to know, hey, every place there's a Starbucks, retail property, every place there's a Starbucks in Richmond, you put that in. Or, in the DC market, I want to find every office of Google or Amazon. You get the idea. And people do that. And think about it. When it comes from a retail point of view, there's a lot of co-location that goes on. That's explained in the training a fair amount. And certain retail properties want to co-locate near other retail properties. So you can search for where those tenants actually exist. So lots of possibilities here. There's an additional criteria option that opens up the filters. They sort of open up this way, and you can put in certain things. You can put in, what other these tenants, what was their lease? What kind of services did they have in their lease? And again, these are all defined in the training. What's full service gross and triple net, double net? You get the idea. Lots of abilities to filter these tenants. Then you come to a list of tenants, and you're working down here, the criteria to the list, to the detail. Here's the list of all the tenants that met your filter criteria. Maybe you're looking for Bank of America. Where are they? And then you click on one of those and you come to the tenant detail page, and here's information about this specific tenant. And the other thing is people are looking for leases that are expiring. Some of those filters will help you see what leases are expiring, because you may be looking, a leasing broker is interested in coming in here and trying to figure out, hey, I've got some space, Bank of America would be perfect, or all kinds of scenarios that you could imagine. And so you can get the idea of all the various players. And one of the sections in the certification is we go through the various players in the real estate industry, which you guys probably already know, but and the types of people that use this data to do their business. All right, 1.13, we're almost on professionals. This is simply a directory of a lot of companies and people that are in the real estate world. And this professional directory allows you to go through here and you can look for, a specific company or types of companies or types of contacts. You can narrow it down by a market or by a state or by a zip code level. And you can say, I want all the interior designers in Richmond, or I want all the developers in Boston, or I want architects in DC, and it's simply a professional directory here, and that just sort of what you're looking at there. So, all right, almost the last thing to share with you is markets, and this is important to if you're nodding off, wake up for just the last little section here, because this market section is very valuable and very powerful. So this is probably, besides the first 5 sections where you jumped in, this is that the next most important section. Markets is very, very powerful, and the capabilities are incredible here. Here you're thinking a little bit more bigger picture. You're thinking about the consultant, and somebody's come to me and hey, I want to develop, but I'm still sort of open, and you tell me where would be a good place to develop to build a hotel or to buy an office building, or you get the idea. So that's sort of what we're talking about here. When you click on markets, the sub option comes up and you have markets and sub markets. Now that's the default, and most everything you're going to do is right here in markets and sub markets, but there is market insight and data export. Okay, when you click markets to start with, it will default to office, so you can change that. But this is a property type drop down here, so you can change that to whatever you want to. And then geography type, it'll default to market. But look, you can change it. Maybe I want submarkets or countries, and you can change it a number of different ways. Okay, the markets are displayed on the map. So notice you're looking here at a world map of markets. So we've got the US markets in Canada, UK, and as I said, you're getting an idea of the markets in Europe that we're heading to, and so that's where I start. Let's talk about next up a couple more things. Placards are on the right, so you have a placard for every market in this big list. We haven't filtered yet. You have the view options. Now look at the view options for a second. What are you going to notice different? Map, list, and no analytics. What do you have? Compare. And that's super powerful, as I'll show you in just a minute. Icons on the left to just zoom in and zoom out, change the map view a little bit, and then layers. I'll show you layers in a minute. And you have the list of how many markets meet your current criteria. Well, we haven't specified criteria yet, so let's jump in and let's start filtering. Okay, so the filters are here before. Okay, so when I click on filters right there, boom, I come, the placards disappear and filters come in instead. Now, right off the bat, I can change the location. So I clicked location and specified I just wanted US as my location. And so I started that. The filters here are the default filters, but notice you have this ability to add new filters, and adding filters, you can change all these different market filters here. I can change it to demand or sale price, or, some of them are in there because they're popular, but they're basic filters, and then you can add additional ones at each as well. For each filter, let's say inventory square footage, I'm looking for big markets. So I get to put in a min or a max and a current, if that would be relevant. So the time frame would be current, maybe 3-year history, or even forecasted in the future. And so here I'm narrowing down my markets. And you notice what I've done. I just want big markets in the US. So I changed the location to US, and I've changed the inventory to square footage. So that's where I'm at right now. And the map redraws with just those big markets in it. Now, from that, I'm going to click the list, and I'm going to go to the list of these markets. I've specified 18 markets at this point. And now I'm looking at the list of the 18 biggest markets from a square footage point of view in the US. As I go here, each market is listed. I can get a report. I can check certain ones of these if I want to. But then look at the headings. All these headings are displaying various metrics for these markets, the total asset value. Where's the square footage? Here's the square footage. So you see those listed, everything above 150. It looks like it's organized. No, it's not quite. These are hot. So I can click on one and sort by one, of course. And so you get an idea of what you're looking at here. Very, very cool. I can Now, what I'm going to do is from the list view, I'm going to click here and go to compare. And I'm going to go to the compare option. This is similar to analytics, but here I'm not looking at the average. What I'm looking at is I'm comparing each of the markets that I've specified. When I click compare, everything else remains the same. I will see a single graph of a single metric. Okay, so this is a graph of asset value. Asset value is the default. That's the one you start with. So now I'm looking at the asset value of each of these markets, see, and they're displayed in graph format. Now, obviously, New York is the winner, and it's the one at the top. You see lines for every market, and then the orange is the national index, and you see that displayed at the bottom here. That's the average for the whole country. But if I hover on one of these lines, the market name will appear, and I have options here. I could find a specific market if there was, if you had a big list, you could go and find it. You could sort it by a different criteria. Obviously, by default, it's going to sort by asset value, high to low. I can tweak the graph time period using these, change the forecast if I want to as well. So you have the customized graph options. So you get the idea. Now here I'm just comparing by asset value, but that's probably not what I want to compare by. So notice this is a drop down, and when I click on that drop down, I have all the other metrics and charts appear. I can get a line chart, not just of asset value, but of inventory square footage and all these other options as well. Bubble charts, ranking charts, all kinds of cool ways to compare these various markets. You get the idea. And these are listed here. Any one you pick, a new graph will come up. Very cool. Great way to compare the various markets. You get the idea. So neat capability. And of course, as you're doing this, you can get you can download this and get the graph of any of these as you're working through it as well. Okay, as you're doing that, then the next thing you might want to do is you might actually want to go to a single market and look at the detail for a single market. So you're looking at this various value, you're looking at, you pick out one of these that you think is most interesting, and then you click on that to go to a single market. Here I'm looking at the market detail page. And in this case, I'm looking at information related to Richmond. It is the office market. And look at this is, what number markets that I'm in my selection criteria. I'm looking at basic info at the top, and then all the market data is organized into these various sections here. So huge amount of data related to a market. I start with summary data, and then I can get leasing, rent, construction, and so on data for all these various, or for any market that I choose. But obviously here I'm looking at one. Let's look at what's contained here. In the summary section, I'm looking at a description of the market from the CoStar Market Analytics team. So as we said before, CoStar has a whole bunch of market analysts, and this is something you guys could get a job doing. What do these people do? They analyze the various attributes of what's going on, and they write content related to these markets. They're in the market, they're understanding what's going on, and they're writing content. To start with, it's summary. But then, as you go through here, you scroll down. All the various metrics for this market come next. So after the summary, as you scroll down on this market, next metrics broken into the summary, broken into by categories, by availability, demand, inventory, and sales. KPIs, box and whisker charts show up just for the Richmond market. And they're sort of like we saw before. You're seeing various real estate metrics for Richmond. Then you go to leasing. Now you have more text content for leasing in the Richmond area, and then graphs related to leasing data. And here you get like 10 graphs of leasing related metrics. So you're looking at net absorption, net deliveries, and vacancy, all graphed on one, all displayed in one graph. Below that, you just get net absorption broken out by itself, and then vacancy just by itself. You get the idea. So they've created graphs, a whole library of different graphs for you there for these various attributes. As you scroll down, when you come to rent, you're going to get text related to rent, and then graphs, then text related to construction, and then graphs, and so on, and then sales, economy, the players as well. Now, again, if you click the modify graph icon, you're going to pull up one of these graphs, and you can tweak the graph, sort of like what you did before. We saw that. And then notice PDF, you can dump any one of these graphs out to a PDF. Good. So that's basically the market section. As you go through there, you're going to look at leasing data, then rent, then construction data, sales, economic data. CMBS is the loan data. That's pretty cool. Players as well. And then you come to submarkets. Now, I do want to show you submarkets because it's a pretty powerful part of the puzzle here. When I click on submarkets, what you'll notice is the Richmond office market has been redrawn, and I'm seeing the boundaries of the various submarkets in Richmond. If I highlight, if this was live and I was in the program, if I highlight, hover on one of these submarkets, it will show be highlighted on the right hand side, so I'll know which one I'm in as I'm going through here. And you can highlight, if you hover over here, it'll show up on the map, or if you're in the map, it'll highlight in the placard section. So either way, it will it'll be sort of hot there. One of the cool capabilities, though, is you see the layers capability here that I mentioned to you before. When you click on layers, you come to this view, and it's now redrawing the submarkets in various related to various metrics. Now, notice the legend at the bottom shows the vacancy rates and the ranges of vacancy rates for the submarkets in Richmond. So you see, hey, looks like these, suburbs might be the place to look. So you say, hey, these submarkets seem pretty good. Let me change that to what's under construction. Which of these markets have a fair amount of stuff that's under construction? You click that, and then you're going to redraw, and you're going to see those surrounding markets and how much is already in construction there, because you're thinking about building, and say, hey, maybe this area here might be a good place to build. It's got fairly fairly good rates and fairly good vacancy rates, and there's not a lot of other stuff under construction. So basically, those are some of the other capabilities here that you have in here. And if you specify hospitality as a property type, the only thing I want to mention to you is the market filters will relate to hospitality. And that's, for hotel folks, I can't tell you how powerful this is. You could look at all the markets in the US, narrow it down by things like the actual occupancy or ADR, or the change in occupancy or ADR. Like right now, one of the things that's hot in hospitality is ADR growth. There are markets where, the ADR growth is really substantial, big increases in ADR. So you want to find those hot markets. So I want an ADR percent change that might be over this amount, but I want places that have, where the delivered rooms are low. So there are not a whole lot of rooms that are in the market. So not a whole lot of new openings. And I want the under construction to be sort of low so I don't want markets where there's a whole lot of, stuff that's under construction. You get the idea. So I'm finding a hot market from an ADR point of view without too many new opened hotels and without too many rooms that are under construction. And you can see how a developer type could use these fields and really narrow that down. The headings, of course, for these markets will be hospitality related. And then in a compare mode, you're comparing these based upon hospitality metrics like occupancy and average daily rate. Of course, the text here will, if you have hospitality market, it will relate to the hospitality. And if you go to the layers, it'll be the hospitality metrics here too. Good. 1.15 market insights. These are just a lot of different reports. All that analysis is available to you here. You can open that up and look through these various reports. That's what market insights gives you the capability. Data export allows you to export certain types of interesting information regarding markets as well. And finally, the last section here, 1.16 is public record data. When you specify public record data like we have here, I'm going back to Richmond, different type of symbol, little gray dots. The little gray dots represent parcels. Now, public record has to do with land, and these are parcels of land that are, that are available. This is not residential, but these are, commercial land use, and that's what you're looking at here. The drop downs here, what is the primary land use, and you have these different options for land use, minimum area, maximum area, and you're listing various parcels of land and related information for that land. You will have some of that additional data in there, like assessment and loan origination and improvements, things like that. So here we are, public record data. You can go to the map view or property detail, and property here is land detail, and that's sort of what the parcel information is. So just to summarize here, what we've gone through in the last couple minutes is we did an intro, we looked at the home page, we looked at search for properties. Most there are people who do nothing more than just search using that particular method. 1.4, we looked at the various views, map view, list view, analytic view. 1.5, we looked at the property detail page, huge amount of information. Then we talked about other search options. So you can search by leasing to find spaces for lease. You can search, look for lease comps, lease analysis. When it comes to sales, you could look at sales comps or properties that are immediately for sale. You could look at properties being auctioned, or you could look for tenants and go in and look for tenants. Professionals, more of a directory type of thing. Markets, very, very powerful capability. You can go in and look for markets, and here you're thinking more of opportunities, and we saw how we could filter those markets and then compare them and do some real cool analysis capabilities as well. Mentioned briefly insights and data export. Remember, public record data has to do with land, and that's sort of where we're going. We don't have to do this in the certification, though. We do a quick knowledge check here, and then there are answers in here. If you have trouble sleeping tonight, feel free to do some of these, and more knowledge check, quiz type questions, more answers, and then as part of the certification workshop, we actually have some exercises in here. So we just let the the students go in and we ask them certain questions about here, and they're using the product to go in and find the answers here as well. So that would be a possibility. The certification, I chatted with Elaine and Robert a little bit about this. We got in a little late, as in the semester, that is. But if you'd be interested in potentially doing this, maybe during the summer wouldn't work, but maybe in the fall, if for those of you who are back, I'd be glad to arrange a workshop like this, and we could do it potentially in person on a Saturday or something like that, or we could do it virtually over a couple time periods, maybe a couple evenings or something like that, and present the rest of the material. You have 1/4 of the material in this certification at this point, the functionality. But remember, there's a foundation section, then a terminology and formula section, and then an application section. So you're 1/4 of the way through that already. And that's sort of how that works. So great, folks. Hey, I'm going to stop talking, and any questions that you might have that I could help with, and the questions could be related to the content, or related to CoStar, or related to anything else. There's a lot of opportunities. CoStar has internship opportunities. A lot of that internship takes place we do have a big office in DC. So that's going to take place in either DC or in Richmond. And I'll make sure I can, get your professors in contact with the recruiting people, and make sure they know that. Any other questions that you have? My expertise is hospitality. So, in terms of hotel industry trends, I'm more than glad to field any of those type of questions that you might have. I'm a little newer to general real estate, but I'll do my best, or maybe try to direct you to somebody who could better answer it than I could. But yeah, I have time. If you do, we can take another minute or two, and then we can break up after that and let you get on with your own Saturdays.
I have a question regarding the certification.
Sure.
So for the certification offered next semester, would it be a thing where we would find out through Rob and Elaine, or would it be more of a thing where we have to contact you personally, or just like how would the process go about trying to get the certification?
Great question, Trinity. We would do it through Rob and Elaine. So we do it together. And so if you have any interest in that, let them know that, and say, hey, if we could arrange a certification workshop next semester, I would definitely be interested. So, and if there's enough of a demand, I'd be more than glad to drop in and do it. You can see right now, this is a new certification. We are in the pilot mode right now. I did a pilot at Virginia Tech last semester. This semester, I'm doing a pilot at University of Delaware, and then at Harvard. Now, for both of those, it's their master programs. And then next semester, I already have a pilot organized for Penn State and for Portland State, and then we're going to do it again at Virginia Tech. So if there's enough of an interest, I'd be more than glad to do something and arrange something at GW. Just let them know, and if you have colleagues that you think, other students you think might be interested, talk it up. And a lot of times, I'll be honest with you, a lot of times that's how it works. And you guys, if you think it's relevant, or you think it might be relevant, you get in there, take it, check it out. And then, I've launched several certifications to start with. Most of them have been in the hotel industry. We have a certification in hotel industry analytics, and, just finished a workshop with 160 kids in it. And we never, the professors and myself, we never talk it up. It's just the students who tell their other students, this is awesome and you got to take this. And so that 160, that group of 160 was just because students talk it up to other students. And so, now that's a certification I've been running for a couple years now. That's been obtained by over 35,000 students. This is brand new. So you're getting to be able to, you be in among the first, 100 people who've received this kind of thing. And so, that's what we're trying to do to get it off the ground. And then we'll be launching it officially in 23. So at this point, it's sort of a pilot program.
Okay, thank you. And then would this be something that we'd have to pay for at all, or would it be?
Well, that's another benefit. If you take it this year, I'm giving it to you for free. So next year it's going to be, it will cost, but it won't be that much. It'll be, the student versions of our certification, or none of them are above. Well, actually, there's one advanced one that is above $100. In the hotel industry, we have one that costs $75, and then an advanced version that costs $150. I'm pretty sure when this comes out, it's going to be about $100. Or 95, something like that. So, but in the fall, you'd get it for free. So that would be another good reason to get it in the fall. So you're still in the guinea pig mode, but I would ask for your feedback. And even today, would love to hear if there's any way, any better ideas that you have, or any things we could do. I'm making a whole bunch of notes as I presented this. You have my email on that last slide, shood@str.com. Don't hesitate to drop me an email or let me know if I can help you. Yeah, good question. Thank you, Trinity.
Yes, thank you so much.
Any other feedback as far as just what you learned today? We did it in about an hour and a half. It was a lot of content. I'd like to try to figure out how to do this so you can so I can present the training and you can play at the same time. And it's going to be a little easier if we were face to face. Doing this virtually is a little harder. In 2 weeks, I'll be at University of Delaware, and I'll be in an environment where I can actually do it in front of the class and then have them playing in the classroom. I think that would probably be easier. But I'm still trying different things here. If anybody has suggestions or thoughts, definitely let me know. In the workshop we did at Virginia Tech, it was really a lot of fun to present the training and then let them jump off and do the application exercises. And they had a whole lot of fun because I'd give them problems to solve and they'd have to, figure out, well, how do I find that? And, some of them were easy, but then some of them were a little trickier, and there were frequently multiple ways to get to the answer. And some were hard ways and some were easy ways. So those exercises were sort of fun. But any feedback you have would be great. Any other questions? Okay, well, good. Hopefully this was helpful to you. Please let your professors know. I'm afraid I don't have a survey for you. I should have had something to give you a little feedback, but if you enjoyed it today, or if you have any good suggestions, drop me an email at shood@str.com. Would love to hear from you. If I can be of help to you in the future, don't hesitate to drop me an email. If you're working on a project where you need some hotel data, don't hesitate to let me know as well. And I do work real closely with some of the folks on the hospitality and tourism side at GW. That's like Larry Yu is a good friend, and so the classes he offers are really, really cool. If you think that might be interesting, a lot of opportunities in that area, especially now. Don't hesitate to try to take one of those classes. Larry Yu is a professor over there that's really cool, but there are a couple other folks out over there. Oh, there's a new one. Somebody transferred in from Virginia Tech who was really good. I can't remember that professor. It's a lady, and she's really good too. So, so Yale, if I can be of help to you from a career point of view as well.